Hi everyone, my name is David and I am the artist and owner behind the Five and Dime Upcycled Furniture, Antiques and Accents. And today I'm coming to you to work on a project, my first project for Roycycled Treasures. You'll have to take a look at her website for the most fantastic papers and everything you can see. And so I'm just going to show you the inspiration that I have for this table and then the process that we're going to go through to actually complete it. Now, as you can see, we've got a nice, beautiful sunny day here in Toronto. And so I thought I would work outside for a bit today. So one of the first things I'm going to do when I'm painting a project and using Slick Stick is turn it over. I want to make sure that the underside has the finish that it needs on it as well. You don't want your client to be turning this over or seeing a gap where it was unpainted enough. So what is the limit that you do on the underside? It's completely up to you. I think anything that is going to be visible should always have a coat of paint on it, a finish. You want it to look professional. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll always do the underside of the lip of the tabletop. I will always do the side of the rails. I won't do inside. I don't think there's a point to that. I will obviously do all the legs, and I'll always do the edges if there's a lower shelf on a table as well. So that's kind of my limit. If you think that you're going to be sitting at a certain height and you're going to see the underside of something, just paint it. Make it easier on yourself. Put it on, and you'll be happier that you did to ensure that your client has a piece that looks properly done. So again, I'm using Slick Stick. This has already been cleaned with White Lightning. It's been given a scuff sand, and from here, it's a matter of getting our initial coat that we have something for our paint to stick to. So again, Slick Stick is an adhesion primer, and what that's going to do is provide a surface that we can actually paint on without worry about the paint coming off. So Slick Stick, the first coat is going to stick to your piece of furniture. The second coat means your paint will stick to the Slick Stick. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to get in here, paint away. So now that I got the underside pieces done and I've done the apron along the edges, the next part will be to do the top. You want as smooth a surface as possible if you're doing a tabletop, but if you're doing something like a bottle or a tin, that it's not about that. It's really about the texture that you're going to get at the end. So I'm going to finish this up, so instead of boring you while I paint this on, I'll be back shortly. Morning everyone. So we're back getting ready for the decoupage on this. So right now we have the Slick Stick done. So it's been given 2 coats of Slick Stick. One, waited 2 hours for it to dry, then a second coat. Now we're going to move on to the paint, and hopefully I can get some painting done before it starts raining because the weather's not looking very good out here today. So you'll also have to excuse my voice. I sound like a cross between Betty Davis and Lauren Bacall with this COVID, but there you have it. So the plan on this right now is that I was looking at the Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint and going to be working with the color Black Sands, Anchor, and Nautical. And I've actually had a little bit of a change of direction. It's one of those things when you're working on a project, you get midway through and you're like, yeah, time to change. So this is the color that we're going to be using. It's called Black Sands, and it's the Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint, which means it has a built-in primer and a built-in top coat. So it's like effectively having 1 coat of each. So you can see it's kind of a gray, it looks like here, almost black, but it really does have a bit of a blue hint to it. So you want to give it a good shake, obviously. Make sure that you mix up the particles in there, get all the composite together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a synthetic brush, which works best on these. And I'm actually going to start on the legs because they're always going to be the trickiest to do. And here we go. So you want a liberal amount on your brush when you're going in. And look at that color. And the biggest trick with this paint is not to overwork it. It needs a smooth, even coat to get the best finish. And again, synthetic brushes seem to work best with this paint. And I find this slap and tickle motion works best with leg. So, had to move, of course. That 30% chance of rain turned into rain. So I got caught in the rain and had to move onto the porch. So I just want to talk about the brushes. So I'm using the Zebra Palm brush, and everything that I've been told and watched and YouTubed and that says that synthetic brushes are the best when it comes to applying the Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint. However, I don't think that takes into consideration doing legs. So legs are always tricky because you've got a round surface that you need to work on. This is the Dixie Belle French tip, and I'm finding that this is actually working beautifully on the legs. I'll still revert back to this for the flat surfaces, but for the legs, this has been the game changer for me. So just wanted to share that little tip with you. So now that I've got the table painted and it's all complete, I'm ready to move on to the decoupage. However, once I put the paper on top of it, it's like, it looks kind of boring. So change of gears. So moving from locomotive, gonna go to underwood crate instead. And we're going to add the cowhide. So picture that together. It's gonna look absolutely fantastic. The color combination is good. Then I think I'm gonna do some applique moldings on the edges, and on top of that, I think what I'll actually do is a little bit of the copper gilding wax, because I think that'll go really nicely with this as well. Maybe a little stencil, we'll see. All right, stay tuned. So now that I'm ready to get the decoupage on, there's a couple things I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna be using Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in Satin. I'm going to be using a couple brayers to help smooth it out. I'll be using some cling wrap to make sure that I don't tear the paper. I'll be using a foam brush to apply it to the top of the table. And I've got my handy dandy wet wipes in the event that I need to clean up a little spill. And my scissors. So basically what I'm gonna be doing to start this off is clearing the table. Oh, and also I've got a couple pieces of sandpaper in 240, and I'll show you what that's for at the end. So let's clear this off. I know the position that I want the paper in. Basically what I want to do, and I'm hoping that this turns out right, if not, I might have a bit of a mess, is there's this lip here that I painted as well. So all around the edge is this beautiful little lip. I want to leave that detail open so the decoupage will sit on this edge, but not go over. So this is where I want to do it. This is the part I want to see. So I have some excess paper. So I'm just going to mark along roughly where that is. And I'm going to trim that out. I got to make sure that my top and bottom cover, yeah. I'm not cutting up any of the topography. So I'm going to shift this up a little bit. Make sure my top seems even. That's pretty good. I'll start using my clear coat as the actual sealant for it. And what I'm gonna do is, I'll give this a stir first. And then what I'll do, and again, we're trying to make sure we don't go over that edge. I don't want any of this sealant, which it's not a big deal. But, because I mean, the table's gonna get a quick seal on the top anyhow. You want a liberal amount on. You want an even coat. But what I'm trying to avoid is this lip. I don't want it over the lip because I don't want the paper, and that's where the wipes come in. I don't want the paper to stick on the lip. I'm trying to avoid that. So we'll just go in, ever so gently place this down. And I'm going to use the brayer to roll it. Ever so gently. The great thing is with the pattern that's on this paper, and biggest part is making sure you have good coverage, because if you don't, you're gonna end up with air pockets underneath. That is the tricky. So work in small sections. Okay, so that is that half done. So now I'm gonna take the saran wrap and use that to just place everything. A little light burnish. You want to be very careful that you're not rubbing too hard, or you can tear the paper. I mean, it is paper, so wet paper does tear. And I see there's some wrinkles here, but I think it kind of adds to the character of it anyhow, so I'm not too concerned. Now we'll continue the same for the side. Decided I'm going to give this just a little bit more embellishment. And I've got this wheel cog gear type thing, which I thought would look really cool on top of the surface here. So I'm going to be using Fusion's embossing paste. And this is what I am using. And I will use a credit card to apply. And I'm just going to do a thin coat. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just tape off the areas I don't want. So I don't want it all over. I'm just kind of going to do a spray down on the corner. So we're going to give this a go. So I'm using just a credit card, but a spatula would work as well. And I'm going to give this a go. Okay, so a quick pass over, make sure everything's even, and then let's peel it off for the reveal. So I've got the cardboard here, I'm gonna set it on there. And the thing is to wash this as quickly as possible. So let's see how we did. So I'm gonna take our wet wipe, get the areas we don't want it on. All right, so use the Fusion Smooth Embossing Paste to make a raised stencil. So this is what we have. Allowed that to dry for 12 hours. And I didn't realize that I'd used pearl finish. Not the look we're going for with this industrial ranch style. So give you a bit of an idea, what I've done, and hopefully you can see that, is I've actually taken the copper gilding wax from Dixie Belle, and I'm actually going to go over the stencil again, but this time just with the gilding wax. So a bit of a tip, and you need to be so careful with these things. I actually tore the paper because I put the tape down. Now, whenever you're using tape, you should de-tack it, meaning to take your tape, whatever type of painter's tape that you're using, and you don't want it super strong because you're dealing with a delicate surface. So taking it and going like this will de-tack it. Also pull a lot of lint off your wool sweater. And then it's not as strong and tacky, but it'll hold it in place for you. So I'm gonna put that down like that. And then we're just gonna go in, making sure we have everything in the right place, and use our wax. And gilding wax is going to be one of those things that you put on last. So that means we're close to the end for this project. So again, just using a small stencil brush, and I just got this at Michael's. Copper gilding wax, a little bit on the brush, dab it off. You don't want an extra excess amount. And then over top of where we've done our raised stencil, and being careful-ish, but the great thing is the color lends itself to the top of the paper as well. And what we'll get is this beautiful raised copper effect. So it makes it look a little more 3D. So now that we have the top pretty much done, we want to add a little embellishment to the bottom as well. So I'm literally just taking a little of the copper gilding wax, applying it to my finger, and I just want to do the edges where the paper meets the table, and we're going to give it just a little bit of dimension and glitter and glam. I mean, just because you're cowhide doesn't mean you can't be glamorous. So we're going to throw that in there. And I like doing it this way because you get a little bit more control. And I like that it's not like a fine painted line. It's actually a little more rustic and gives it that idea of almost being a little bit of a distressed look as well. So we're not looking for 100% coverage. We're just looking for a little bit of glam added on. And we'll continue this around the sides. So let's just bring it in so you can see a bit better. As you can see, just a little bit of shimmer to add a little detail to it as well. And since we're here, we might as well put a little on the edging as well.